Good evening, welcome back to my No Name channel, and I'm Bruce Pullman, and this is another Bali COVID-19 update for July 9th, 2020. Welcome to the opening of Bali. Well, partial opening, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's get to the numbers as usual. Yesterday, 31 new cases, lower than usual, and 1,971 positives, and we're getting close to the 2,000 number. But 1,079 recovered cases, 25 deaths. Now you notice the deaths have been going up, and 867 active cases, and so that's gone down. So that's some good news. And where most of the cases, you can take a look at this map, and here's so there's two things here. One is the government page that gives the numbers and tells you what to do to be safe, and the second one is my favorite little map that shows all of the districts in Bali, all the regencies, and you can see the numbers there. And so the most was, of course, in Denpasar, and then Badung, and Klungkung is number 3, Bangli number 4. Buleleng has moved down to number 5. Thank goodness. Okay. So we are still getting cases. That's not going to stop. And they go up and down, up and down. And if you're following what's going on in the world, unfortunately, that's happening all over. There just doesn't seem to be an end to this at this point. But let's get on and talk about the opening of Bali. So July 9th, this is the day that the government said they were going to open up Bali for locals, and that includes foreign residents. And so tourist places have been opened, the beach is open, I'll talk about that, longer hours in the market, and I don't know, do I have a story about that? Maybe, not sure, but I'll talk about it anyway. Okay, so according to the Secretary of the Task Force for the Acceleration of Handling COVID-19 in Buleleng, oh, okay, my district, this is what I was going to talk about. The hours for shops, markets, stalls, and street vendors has been changed and will now open at 5 a.m. and be able to stay open until 9 p.m. Okay, so good news if you're a shopper. The longer hours actually, well, hopefully will mean less crowding, although the markets, everybody wants to go in the morning. And I've talked about this in last video, I think, the Ibus who get all close together, including my Ibu. And the secretary said that if a market shows symptoms, if somebody in the market shows symptoms, there's going to be testing. They're looking for virus clusters. The market would be temporarily shut down, cleaned. Everybody would be tested. But so far there's been no signs up here, with the exception of, I don't know, was it 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, over in Bondalam. And so markets in Singaraja have been thankfully free so far. And the tourist spots are also going to be open to locals and resident foreigners. Like I said, conditions are going to be monitored until July 31st, when, if conditions permit, Bali will be open to domestic tourism. So that's good news. If conditions permit, we'll see how that goes. The problem has been, and if you take a look, and I follow a lot of the East Asian countries closely because I have a lot of friends there, it looked like it was taken care of in Korea, and I've mentioned this before, and now it's flaring up, and they're concerned about that. Flaring up in Gwangju, and churches in particular in South Korea, and so the government's going to put some restrictions on churches, but that's South Korea. And so the the need was stressed once again for everybody to work together in order to make the new era of life order successful. Okay, I'm not sure. That's how I'm translating this, and I've seen, and Google translates it the same way I do. So it's a kind of a strange, maybe just the new era of life. I don't. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to call it the new normal for now. So that's Buleleng, longer hours in the market, and down to Kuta. 4 entrances. Now the other day I mentioned that 5, but now there's the story today is that the official opening, 4 entrances to Kuta Beach will be opened, and also Kuta Art Market will be open, and health protocols will be provided and required. Washing hands, hand sanitizer, mask, keep social distancing. Also, the Regent of Badung, is in the process of structuring Jukung Bali fishing boat zones on the coast for tethering their boats, and zones for religious ceremonies. And so here we go. Everything has gotten started. I'm hoping this is good news, and we'll see how things work out over the next 22 days. Are they going to work out? Let's hope so. Okay, so that's 2 things. That's Buleleng and the Kuta market's opening. Okay, so now on to the schedule for opening. And it's going just like previously planned. It's still in effect. And so today was the opening for locals. And on July 31st, if things go right, it's the opening for domestic tourism, people from outside the island. And then on September 11th, if things continue to go right, the opening for international tourists. And so let's take a look. According to the head of the Bali Provincial Tourism Office, he did a survey. 53% of tourists are interested in coming the period from October to December. 82% are concerned about cleanliness, health, and safety, which is the big thing that everybody is focusing on here. Hotels and all the tourist spots. And less than 30% want to come in July. Well, good, because you're out of luck. No tourist visas are being issued at the time. Just to make that clear again, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. If you are a tourist, you cannot come in now. Hang on for another couple of months. And he said, the secretary, or the head of the tourist office, said that it's going to take time to restore confidence in tourists who have been subject to the trials and tribulations of COVID-19 for a long time now. And he said his office is going to offer certification to businesses that show that they have standards in place for the health and safety of their guests. And also commented, like everybody else does, discipline is necessary, because what we're seeing around the world is once restrictions start to loosen up, people just go whole hog and they forget about everything else. And you take a look at the US and Korea and Hong Kong. Australia is got one of its states locked down now. It's still not good. This is looking better for us, but people need to keep the mask on and social distancing. And social distancing, that's another whole question now, with this recent report that the virus is likely airborne, can go as far as 10 meters and hang in the air. So if that's the case, that's going to be a problem. No word on schools opening. Well, real opening. According to one of my daughters, my granddaughter's school opens on Monday, but online. So I'm kind of disappointed in that on the one hand. The other hand, I'm not. I want her to be safe. So why is Bali so important, right? Everybody knows that Bali is one of the major tourist attractions in Indonesia, and according to this article, Bali contributes 41.43% of the national tourism foreign exchange. And foreign tourists, we had 6.3 million last year, 39% of all foreign tourists in Indonesia. That number was 16 million total. And in terms of numbers, Aussies, number one. They got knocked out of the number one spot for a while, but number one, Chinese number two, people from India number three, and the Brits number four, and the Americans number five. Okay, and so Bali's brings in a lot of foreign exchange. Everybody knows that, and so that's the big focus. And so, what's happening? We've got the numbers going up. Yesterday in Jakarta, highest numbers ever. Okay, so a lot of problems in Java, and this is part of the problem with domestic tourism opening up. Are we going to get people that are going to come in who have been infected with COVID-19? How good are the tests? How good is the testing going to be when people get on the plane or people get off the plane, people go to the hotel? What are they going to do if somebody tests positive? Are they going to isolate them? Are they going to send them back? Who knows? Okay, we'll find out. But in the midst of all this, according to an article in the Jakarta Post today, Jakarta and Bali are preparing for conventions despite the rising cases. And so the Indonesian tourist hotspots of Jakarta and Bali are getting ready to welcome MICE meetings, incentive, conventions, exhibition events as part of the strategy to reinvigorate tourism in Indonesia. And at this point, plans would be 50% capacity. Outdoor corporate events and golf tournaments will be allowed. And currently, Jakarta has 1,530 clubs and discos closed. 99 out of 637 hotels are still closed. And 123 of its 6,169 restaurants are closed. That's almost nothing. Okay, so, and the article also mentions that despite Bali's stated desire to go to a more ecologically friendly tourism, one that focuses on nature and culture rather than just tourist attractions, and a lot of the weird stuff that gets down here in the tourist areas. Well, they're gonna focus on they're gonna put a focus on bringing the conventions back to Bali. So I'm assuming that's Nusa Dua, that area, and this is supposed to help jumpstart tourism. And so we're gonna see how that goes. I'm cautiously optimistic. Cautiously optimistic because I want to be optimistic after all this time, and people really need to work here, and like everywhere else in the world, we need to get the economy going. Cautious because afraid that people are going to forget about safety and health protocols once things open up and get lax, like we've seen happen in so many other places around the world. And so if you're planning on coming to Bali, should you plan September 11th? Personally, I wouldn't. I would go later. I'm more cautious. I'd go for December, but just my preference. And I'm going to end up today with a crime story. We get crime, and we have a lot of ATM skimming. And ATM skimming is bad for everybody, locals, tourists. And a lot of it's being done by people from outside, from tourists, from foreigners. I've talked about the Bulgarians that have been arrested a number of times. Well, today I was reading a story, and this happened last week. Turkish tourist, well, he's not a tourist anymore, he's been in jail for a few years, was busted again for ATM skimming in Canggu at a Mandiri outlet in Pepito supermarket. And he had just gotten out of jail recently. He had spent 2 years for ATM skimming at a Mandiri outlet then. And his partners in crime had also been Turks that time. This time he had an Indonesian partner in crime. And what happened is a bank employee noticed that there was some funny stuff going on and reported it to police. Police showed up, they checked, they found the hidden camera, they staked the place out. Bad guys showed up, and boom, they busted them. Now, they were lucky they were not shot in the leg. That's the favorite way to stop people that flee here. Balinese police are very good shooters. So he's back in the Huskau waiting trial, and he's going to be tried under the Information and Electronic Transaction Law, and can receive up to 7 years in prison. So if he's found guilty, let's hope he gets a longer sentence. He apparently does not learn much, because not only did he come back and try to do the thing that he got busted for in the first place, but he got caught again. So he's not very good at his profession. Unfortunately for him, fortunately for us. And so that's it. Weather is beautiful as usual, and let's just hope that all of the praying from everybody, from Hindus and Muslims and Christians and Buddhists, has worked along with the science and the safety measures. We are still getting cases every day. The numbers fluctuate, like I said, so cautious optimism. Let's think positive. Wear the mask, whether you like it or not. It's the rules, and think about other people, not just yourself. This isn't a question of your personal freedom. And be kind to someone today, and see you next time. And if you're interested in the anthropology video that I did the other day, it's up here, link to it is up here. I'm just about finished with the one on the history of anthropology, and that should be up in another day or two, probably by Saturday. And so, okay, that's it. See you.